is circulated, moved by Carolyn, seconded by Councillor Seymour Fagan. All those in favor? And that motion's carried. Okay. So during this portion, I think Juan's going to be joining us later. We have, oh, he's here. Okay. We have a couple of reports coming back. And any other comments I've got, I'll just wait till the last till the end of the meeting. It's more about communications, and I'm going to be asking some assistance from Ashley. Okay, and Jason's now joined us. Okay, Jen, can you give us an update on the number 5.1, the Iron Bridge update? I don't know whether you're going to do that or whether Juan's going to do that.
I can, if you would like, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
So I think what you were looking for from the last meeting was just an update as to the installation of some bollards at the east and west side of that bridge. And if I'm wrong, then just ask me some questions and I can provide you some information. But as far as why the installation of the bollards was implemented was a couple of reasons. There, along that portion of the Victoria Rail Trail, it is non-motorized use from an ATV or ORV perspective. So it does prohibit, the trails bylaw does prohibit the use basically from Logie Street until Thunderbridge Road for ATVs and ORVs. So the bollards were installed to kind of help enforce that bylaw, as in a sense, to prohibit traffic going across the bridge there. We did have some capital improvements completed there as far as the switchback goes, that brings you from the bridge down to the trail, as well as the decking of the bridge. So in order to kind of preserve those capital investments, we were prohibiting motorized vehicles in that area by installing the bollards. We installed some signage as well, indicating that motorized use was not permitted.
Good. Okay. Basically, my question was, because I haven't been across it or to it probably for a couple of years now, is whether it was safe for use if, in fact, recommendations were made to open up the bridge as an access point to Logie Street. Or to the trail, but I didn't want to spend a lot of time discussing it if in fact the physical structure of the bridge was unsafe. That would have answered that question. So I just want to know whether or not it was on the type of discussion at some time in the future, and that was my main question.
Right. I should also mention too that that trail on the west side leads into two parks, so Narrow Park and Riverview Park. So from a parks, recreation and culture and a safety perspective, we would suggest it's likely not the best access, like to bring people right from the bridge into those park areas.
Okay.
All right. The structure of the bridge, I can't comment on though.
All right. Juan, did you want to make some comments? You asked us for a delay on the meeting.
Yeah, sorry, I just got here about 3 minutes ago. So
okay.
I heard the tail end of that. So let me share my screen. And I did share this with Brianne, but I'm not sure if she has access to it. But let me share my screen. Give me a minute. Okay, so this is the city viewer. We had a demonstration of portions of the city view that's going to go public. But all staff have access to this through our GIS department, which is in development services. So I turned the bridge layer on, and there it is. So I just put the map on for a second. I think as Jen mentioned, there is one park there, there's another park there, and then there's the old rail bridge, Iron Bridge, whatever you want to call it. Just let me take the aerial off. So again, we inspect all bridges, pedestrian or road or highway, whatever you want to call it, every 2 years. We're mandated by the province to do that. So when you click on the icon of the bridge, there it is. You get the Victoria Rail Trail Bridge, that's the ID. And then here's a 2011, 14, 17 report and the associated pictures. So from a structural point of view, our OSIM report is in accordance with highway loading. So yes, it is to a highway load standard. So it could take a vehicle, the structure itself. That being said, the deck, and I think Jen mentioned this, there are some, so there's pictures. Again, this is the 2017 pictures, and I'll go through the report. So there's the deck leading up to it, and then the bridge itself, which is an old iron bridge. So there would have to be a deck condition rating to allow it. I think Jen mentioned a couple bullards that may or may not have to be removed. You can see the deck is not in the greatest of shape. But from a structural point of view underneath, absolutely, it is highway loaded. And then I believe you guys also asked for, so that's the pictures. These are the pictures. This is the OSIM report. So if I open up that one, there's 13 pages of everything you want to know about the bridge. The width of the bridge, the latitude, longitude, the heritage status, everything that the province, and it's a lot. We have everything imaginable on this structural analysis. So again, anyone at the city can view it. I just wasn't sure how we share it with the committee, or if the committee wants copies of that, I'll leave that to the chair or the director of public works or Brianne or whoever, but it's there, it's all in the PDF format. Should you want to dive more detail into it.
I don't right now. I've got no directions from the task force. So myself personally, I wanted to know things like whether or not it was structurally sound as far as putting something across it. I wanted to know things like if two ATVs or two ORVs, if they met there, could they safely pass each other? Those were the types of questions that I would have in mind. And I'll get right to you, Steve. I see your hand up. So those are the types of questions that I just don't know enough about the bridge. So for me, it was just very, very much a general question. Learning about where it empties out. I guess my next question to Jen would be, if I brought that out onto Logie Street, if it came out onto Logie Street, how far down Logie Street would the entrance to the south part of the trail be, roughly?
So I might be able to,
okay, sure, whoever.
Yeah,
yes.
So I have my share screen. So a couple things. So yes, the width is on there as well, but I think in 2000, I did the project. So it was around 2000 and I'm gonna say 13, maybe, yeah, 2013 or 12, we did a switchback, which is this. The elevation is quite drastic from here to here. So we built this switchback that is sort of a diagonal shape to make up the grade. So it's in conformance with accessibility standards, all that stuff. That's why we had to do a switchback. So that might be your pinch point. If you have two ATVs or side-by-sides or whatever you guys use, that is most likely your pinch point and not the bridge, because the clearance between these 90-degree bends is probably more than the clearance between side-by-sides or crossing in opposite directions. But again, we would have to measure the distance. And again, this is plus or minus probably a couple meters, but the distance from, hold on, so data measuring. So we take a distance from here, which is Logie Street and the bridge to, and I think the trail's over somewhere at Dobson, which is here roughly. And that's the trail head where the Trans-Canada and the Victoria Rail Trail sort of meet, is about 290 meters. Again, plus or minus. So let's say 300 meters for safety, for factor of safety. So about 300 meters.
Okay. All right. Steve, you had a question?
Yes, through the chair. You were going.
I'm sorry, I've lost your audio there.
Sorry.
Still no audio. Steve, we still have no audio from you. There we go.
Hello.
Yep.
Yes, through the chair. Pat, you were going in the same direction I was wanting to go. In regards to the west side of the bridge, or the east side of the bridge on the switchback and that. What about the west side? Can we see something from setback from the bridge to see access point? Because I think the park is separate from the actual bridge. It's on the outskirts of the park, and I think we could probably restrict the park if we were going to use that, but that's not saying we would. But I just wanted to see if we could see a visual of that.
Lon?
Sorry, is that me again? Okay, sure. I can share my screen again. Okay, so the West Park, and again, I think Jen might have to jump in because I don't know the names. I apologize for that. So there is a park here that we own, City of Kawartha Lakes off of George Street. And there's another park here. It looks like it's the same park, but it's a different parcel fabric. And then there's another parcel fabric up here. So I'm not sure if all three are the same park.
No,
Okay, go
they're
ahead.
different parks, but they're all parkland. Yep.
So sorry, what was the question? The question was, what's the distance from here to George Street?
The bridge abutment, I think, Juan, is what Mr. Lane was asking about.
So
Yeah, the actual distance. I mean, we've accessed that point before back in the day when we were out. We were using the bridge one time. We're not obviously using it now, but if it was to be used, there is a pathway, I believe, that's not really shown. I don't think it goes out onto the street, or is it?
No, there isn't. What Juan is showing there is the current layout of the parks. So previously, probably when you used it before, Steve, is when that area hadn't been developed.
So
So-
sorry, go ahead, Jen.
So it did go right out, and you could access along Durham Street. But now it does not do that. We actually have the pathway come down, and it leads into either Narrow Park to the south or Riverview Park to the north.
So just I toggled, so we take or purchase aerial photos every 4 or 5 years. So this is a 2008 aerial. And you can see Jen has described it correctly. The switchback isn't there. Then 2013, just wait for it to load. The switchback isn't still there. It looks exactly the same as 2008. And then between 2008 and 2013, the city did a lot of improvements. We did a switchback and we did this connection that Jen was talking about. So I'm not sure. I know this was done probably around 2013 or 14. This was obviously done a little bit after, but this is the configuration as of 2018. And I don't think anything's changed in the last 2 years.
Yeah, through the chair, I agree. That's the way it is now then. And I haven't used it for a couple years anyways, or more, walking through there. So I just was wondering, but that doesn't mean we couldn't put a pathway down like the rail trail originally was to access it, keeping away from the parkland if we did that.
Okay, Councilor Richardson?
Thank you, and through you too, Chair. Yeah, that's one thing that's, it's like a red light in my head right now is that it's backing into 2 parklands, and it is it's a safety issue. So, I mean, I know we're just talking about options right now, but that's definitely a concern of mine.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions on the bridge? I don't see, maybe I've got to reduce screen. Okay, there we go. I've got everybody back. Anybody else have any, Jason?
Just a thought on the bridge, coming just from using it recently and being on it at work. In answer to your question, no, you wouldn't get 2 ATVs to pass on it. It's only about 6 feet wide or so between the railings that have been put up. And the switchbacks would probably prevent an ORV from even getting on it because they're so sharp turns. But on the west side of the bridge where it comes out onto, I guess that's Georgian Street at that little piece, I know that northern leg of the path, it doesn't actually go into the park. I believe it goes out into a parking lot. I don't think if you were to come off the bridge heading west and go south, it goes right into a park. But if you come off the bridge and take the northern branch of that T trail that you could see when we had the picture up, I believe that goes out into a parking lot, not into the park itself. So, I mean, if that was an option, I mean, just to give a heads up, it's not actually going into the park. It's in park land, but I believe it dumps right out into a parking lot. Yes, right where he's highlighting there. So
Okay.
the park portion is off to the side of that.
As I said, I was just looking for information. We had Don Mitchell on for a while, but I seem to have lost him as far as the YouTube goes. So hopefully he'll come back. No, I have no further questions. I didn't know enough about the bridge to have an opinion, but with the information we've got now, at least we can have a discussion. Just generally listening to the task force, it doesn't sound like it's going to be one of our favorite options anyway. But at least now we've, at least now we have an answer to that question. So in that respect, I think I thank Juan and Jen for their input. Any further questions on that item? Okay, hearing on, I'll move on to 5.2. Once again, Jen, I asked the question. I'm just looking for an overview. I don't know enough about it. So I don't know whether we want to discuss it or eliminate it or what we want to do. I just don't know. So if you can give us an overview of that trail, that would be wonderful.
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Chair. And I did reach out to the Kawartha Trans-Canada Trail Association group or executive just for information, just because I didn't want to pass along incorrect information. So there is snowmobile use is permitted along the Kawartha Trans-Canada Trail, and I should just remind everyone that it is not a municipal trail. It is managed by the Kawartha Trans-Canada Trail Association. So there is snowmobile use permitted along the trail. It is prohibited, though, as it comes on to Fleming College property, as well as St. Mary's Church property. So actually getting into Lindsay it would be not permitted along the Trans-Canada Trail. There's also an agreement with two property owners that the trail crosses their land, and that land use agreement prohibits the use of snowmobiles as well. So that association, the Kawartha Trans-Canada Trail Association, does have an agreement with the Heart of Ontario Snowmobile Club to maintain the western end of the that section of trail. So as far as linking through into Lindsay, that the trail is broken from a snowmobile use perspective as well. The use of ATVs and ORVs is prohibited as well.
And it's not our property.
It is not ours. Nope.
Okay, so, all right. So, and once again, I just wanted to know whether it was on the table or off the table. And from your description, it sounds like it's not on the table.
I think that's a fair assessment.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the task force? Okay, hearing none. Just a couple of questions for Ashley. I can find the YouTube channel, like how to get on and watch the YouTube videos. What I've been unable to do so far is find the jump in. Can you give us a kind of a walkthrough on how to get there so we can share it with the public?
Of course. Yeah. So upon the completion of the first meeting, a press release was sent out through our news channel that had, the details of the meeting, the chair and vice chair that were elected, as well as the engagement platform. So the website link is jumpinkawarthalakes.ca/OVR task force. I can share that with the team following this meeting and get Brianne to email that out as well. And
Super.
The page has a dedicated landing page where the YouTube meeting, the agenda, the minutes once they are finalized and passed through clerks, everything that is discussed at the meetings will be uploaded to that. So I will certainly share the link with the team following this meeting so you have access and you can easily share that content out. I apologize that you did have trouble finding that.
like a lot of the times it's just knowing where to look in order to find it. Then once you find it, you say, well, that was easy. No, I just didn't know. I've had some inquiries. We now have a dedicated email site. So for anybody receiving questions and so on and so forth, if when they respond to it, if they carbon copy the ORB site, then we can go to it'll automatically go to Brianna, and it can be shared with the rest of the task force.
Most definitely.
Yes, Juan, go ahead.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. So I did do a little bit of digging, and you might have this already, so I apologize if I'm repeating this, but there was an extensive amount of work done between 2009 and 2012-ish regarding ATV routes. I believe one of the members of the committee brought up the old bridge at the north end of Lindsay that was evaluated for a pedestrian bridge where the abutments are still in the waterway. So I did dig up, and again, I don't have a complete package because they're all Public Works files. And if Public Works already provided to you, great. But I wasn't sure if you wanted me to speak on what I sort of found out. The only thing that triggered me was I think there was a comment made about a pedestrian bridge at the north end, a new one that was proposed. And I remember seeing something and I found it. So I wasn't sure if you guys had that information or if you wanted me to give a 2-minute overview.
Yeah, if you can give just a couple-minute overview, Juan. My memory on the bridge, it goes back to the Northwest Trunk when the discussion was over or under.
Yeah.
And at
This
that
was
point,
prior to that. That was but there was a prior iteration
okay.
of trail maps. And then, yes, you're absolutely right. The Northwest Trunk, they were trying to piggyback on it, but this precedes that discussion.
Okay, all right. So if you want to give us an overview.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen and I apologize. I think there's a few people from Public Works, so they might have more information because I don't have access to other departments' files. Hold on, how do I share my screen? So I share my screen. So this is, so I don't have this, but there was a report, PW 2011-004, titled Proposed ATV Routes Through Lindsay, that was done by the Director of Public Works and the Manager of Economic Development in December 12, 2011. Again, I'm missing that report. I just have the index, but I'm thinking either Clerks or Public Works may have it. And I'm just gonna go in actually, before that, there was a Jewel report dated 2009. Which I do have, and I'll come back to that. Then there was a report on February 7th, 2012, done by, again, the Director of Public Works and the Manager of Economic Development that talked about routes through Lindsay. It's a quite a comprehensive report. There's lots of mapping, but then this is the Jewel report. The Jewel report was the 2009, June 2009 report that talked about several different options. Here on, let me find it. There's option, hold on. There's the design criteria for the pedestrian bridges in the north end. And hold on, page. There it is. So the one option, the nice bridge was 1.1 million. The other one was 2 million plus approaches. So it was either 3 million. So you have the 2 million plus the approaches. There's a 2.15, there's the 2.15 for the bridge. Plus everything surrounded would be 3.3 million for the fancy bridge. And for the not so fancy bridge, you would save $1 million. So it would be 2.2 million. And then just for visual, that is the fancy bridge. And this is the, oh, wait, this one. This is the not so fancy bridge. That's still $1 million. So that was brought to council in, again, I wasn't there. In December, sorry, I apologize. There you go, in February 7th of 2007. Then the next steps, there was a presentation made on October 2nd, 2012 by, and it talked about routes, it talked about a whole bunch of different things. If you look at the follow-up slide, you look at the follow-up slide, which is somewhere here. It was by the Director of Community Services, and Jen might have more information. The Director of Public Works, and then I guess the Director of Economic Development at the time. And there was supposed to be a report coming in November of 2012, which again, I don't have access to the full files, but I haven't found. It did look at mapping. So this is harder to see. If we make this big, it looked at mapping, and there's the one crossing that we talked about, which is the, I'm gonna call it the Logie Street Iron Bridge crossing, which I think the committee discussed at length just a couple minutes ago. And then there is a discussion of a north route, which I believe was brought up last meeting, with a potential pedestrian bridge in this side. I just don't know what the outcome of that was. So I have pieces of it, but I'm sure if we ask the Director of Community Services or Director of Public Works, they probably have a more complete file than I do. That's it.
And that was a $3 million price tag back in 2007.
Well, that was 2009. That was the Jewel. This is from the Jewel report that was dated May 2009. Here, let me just zoom in so I'm not lying. Right there, May 2009, and the cost estimate was from 2009. So that's the 3.2, and that one is the 2.1 million. Again, it's not just the bridge; it's the bridge plus all the links connecting to the bridge. Whatever improvements you need to get to the bridge. And again, I know I thought, I could be wrong, I thought someone threw out a number of 400,000, 500,000 at the last meeting. I'm not saying the 2.3 or the 3.2 million is correct, but that's what we had. That's what was presented to council, right? So just to give the committee an order of magnitude, so we're in the right ballpark dollar-wise. If you guys want to proceed, again, I don't know what the outcome of that council report was because I wasn't involved. So. And I'm not sure, Councillor Dunn, if you remember, but
I wasn't there in 2009, but if it was $2 or $3 million in 2009, I can just shudder at the cost in 2021.
Yeah, and possibly maybe that's why it's a dead issue.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if the committee wants to revive it, but at least we could provide some information on the history of it.
Well, at least we have the information so that we have an idea of what we're talking about, because so many times we have conversations without the information and we spend time and resources trying to find something out. So at least this gives us an idea that if we went down that road on how much it would cost if we actually looked at it. Anybody, any questions from the committee? Okay. Before we adjourn the meeting and go into the working task force, what I'm going to be recommending is that we have a working group meeting prior to our regular meeting on YouTube. Therefore, and that way, any decisions that we make as far as recommendations can then be put into can be brought forward from the working group into the regular meeting so that we can share that with the public. So that would be my recommendation as far as when our next meetings are. We are going to be going into a working group meeting now, shortly after this meeting's over, where we're going to try and answer some of the questions that we've received, start to address them, and start to formulate recommendations. I've had a conversation with Sarah O'Connell. Once we start putting recommendations forward as part of our open session meetings, I'll be recommending that we have a public session so that people know what we're talking about, and if they wish, they can make an application to address the task force for 5 minutes on what we've put on the table so far, so that if we need to need/want to make any adjustments to our recommendations, we have their input and we can consider that moving forward. So that's what my plan is as far as agendas going forward. Do we have any other? Now, Brianna, are you on the line or you're?
She is online, Pat, but she does not have a microphone or a camera available.
Okay, that's fine. Now, our next meeting is scheduled for 11 o'clock. As far as the working. So we're just going to take basically, Brian, are we just going to take a 15-minute break and then move into the meeting at 11 o'clock? Is that the way it's set up?
I believe so. It's a separate meeting. So you would end this meeting and then you would start your working group meeting at 11.
Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn with the next meeting being hang on. I'll get my calendar out. Being the 5th of March, does that work? I'm assuming Friday meetings work for everybody. So what I would tentatively suggest is that we have sorry, go ahead, Councillor Richardson.
We have that rural zoning Zoom meeting that morning.
Okay, that'll be all three of us.
Yes.
What does everyone's calendar look like for the 4th of March?
Fine.
Carolyn, you okay on the 4th? Jason?
I'll be working, but I can see if I can get access to a computer at work where I could possibly join the meeting if I'm not busy.
Okay, and Don?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you.
All right, so next meeting scheduled for March the 4th at 11 o'clock. And it'll be a YouTube meeting, and I'll see you all in about 12 minutes for the working session. And can I have a motion? Sorry, go ahead, Kathleen. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn? Steve and Carolyn, all those in favor? This motion is carried. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you for everyone for attending.